All righty. We're moving on now to our risers of the 2021 fantasy season. These were guys that finished outside of the top 15, maybe guys that snuck in there that we think can perform better. No harm, no foul there. But my guy, no, he's definitely not even in the top. He wasn't out in the top 15 last year. And before I say this, I want to preface it with this is mostly a hype train type scenario. This is a guy that, there aren't a lot of numbers here to really cement what I'm feeling about this player, but the moves that are being made, the hype that this player is giving himself, I am excited about. So I'll start us off first. My 2021 riser of the running back position is no other than Arizona Cardinals running back Chase Edmonds. Last year he finished 28th in the running backs in half-point PPR, which is kind of odd to me because, and I think from a personal standpoint, it's because I had him on my team last year. I don't have him anymore, but I had him on my team last year, and I often thought, man, like there were so many times last year where we were like, this is the perfect week to insert Edmonds into your lineup, whether it was like the 2 or 3 weeks where Drake was dealing with injury or, whether it was just a random week and it was a great matchup on paper. There were many opportunities last year that I know I'm not alone. I know you thought it, and I'm sure there are other people.
Yeah, you had him in your dynasty league. I had him in our keeper league.
Yeah.
So
right?
I was always like, I was trying to trade him too. I was like, hey, who wants to trade for Edmonds? Like, this is the week. Look, he's going to be the workhorse. And I was like, next year he's going to take over the starting role. But I'm sure you have thoughts on that.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just weird. So when I saw that he finished as a 28th overall running back last year for fantasy, I was like, really? Because he was on my mind so often. But that's just the way that the cookie crumbled in that scenario. He is now entering year 3 in the Arizona Cardinals system. Last year, he saw his carries increase from 37 to 97. So almost 100 carries last year. Now, that's not great or anything, but it shows that he's getting a little bit more from his rookie season to his year 2 jump. And that's not even what he's really good at. He's good at catching the ball, which he's a running back too. He's good at running the ball too, but he's an expert in pass catching. Kenyon Drake leaves in the offseason. Comes James Conner inserted into the new offense. I think at this point in his career, I think James Conner is certainly more viable. I don't think he's going to be as viable as he was, in a Pittsburgh Steelers offense where he was getting 15, 16, 17 touches a game. I think he finds goal line work in Arizona. I think he finds early down work in Arizona. But I also believe that Edmonds' skill set at this stage in each of their careers is better than James Conner. All right, so that's my first point. This is purely hype train noise here. It's my hope. It's my hope that his carries continue to increase. This becomes a true 2-person backfield. And I think that if Chase Edmonds can see 150 carries, which would be around 53 carry increase from last year where he only saw 97, if he can see 150 carries and he keeps his pass catching work that he's done over the last couple of years, I think that warrants him a spot inside the top 20, which makes him a low-end RB2 in my eyes. I don't think last year, these conversations that we were having about Chase Edmonds, it was often, is he going into my flex? Is he going to be my flex guy this week?
And I'm sure what did we used to do where we'd have our, we'd choose a guy we think is going to have a great week that week?
Our dark horses and our
yeah. I'm sure he was chosen several times for dark horse last year.
Multiple times he was chosen as our dark horse last year, and it never panned out. And guess what? It was always the next week. We were always ahead of the game because then the next week he'd pop off for a really big game, and we're like, what happened? What was so different from last week? And that's just the way that, again, the cookie crumbles sometimes. But the last thing I want to talk about is more hype news, and that is from Chase Edmonds himself. I'm not a follower of him on Twitter. I don't follow him on any Twitter accounts, But I did want to do some research because I was very taken back when I saw that he finished so far back in the running back position category last year in terms of fantasy. So I ended up doing a little bit more research. And then, of course, I did find his Twitter page. This guy, he's a ball, man. He's a ball of joy. He is no doubt a believer in himself, and he wants everybody to know it. He has said things like, for instance, he got a new number in the offseason. He changed his number. And it's like he's got a few tweets out there that are like new year, new me. And I love seeing things like that. I don't really know, why, but it makes me happy. It gets me pumped up, right? And I'm sure that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to pump his own self up. He's also said things like, this is going to be my breakout year. Words from his mouth. 100%. This is going to be my breakup year, which makes you start to tail spin out and think, well, why is he believing this? Is he believing this because he's been told this by, coaches and staff that he's going to get more involved this year, right? And he's also came out and said things like now or never, as in this is the time to make my presence known. This is my time to take the lead back role in Arizona. I think this guy is into the aspect of competing for a top dog role. Whether they think he gets it or not, I love the attitude that comes with it and believing that he can. So I'm all in a guy like Chase Edmonds. I know previously in the last couple of weeks we've talked about him. They've come up. I don't want any part of the Arizona backfield. But then we get into value. His current ADP is in the first pick of the 8th round. James Conner is literally going right behind him with the 802 pick. And I think that's perfect. That is another perfect scenario of this is a guy who, he's not going to get the 240 carries like the guy we were just talking about in David Montgomery. But he is going to get some sort of an increased workload. I don't think we can deny that. He's going to have to see it. It's just willpower and mind at work here that the fantasy community thinks that he's going to get the work. I haven't seen it yet because clearly he's being drafted in the 8th round, but I'm here to tell you today, something's going on and it's my body. It's my body telling me that Chase Edmonds is going to have success this year in Arizona. He's going to take the next step. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be top 5. I'm not saying he's going to be top 10. I'm not saying he's going to be top 15. But I think he could definitely work himself in to a top 20 running back, which solidifies him as a RB2. Whereas last year, we were worried about starting him as our flex week in and week out. I love it for that reason. And he is my 2021 riser at the running back position this season. Jacob?
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, it turns out we didn't disagree too much on David Montgomery, but while we disagreed on some of these risers and fallers so far, I agree with you on this one. Like you obviously chose yours first, so I didn't get a chance to choose Chase Edmonds, but I'm happy with the guy I chose too. And I've been a supporter of Chase Edmonds recently, and I'll just go ahead and go while Gabe steps away. But basically, I just think before they signed James Conner, I was just crossing my fingers that Chase Edmonds was going to be in for a starting running back role. But I hear a lot of people say, he's not really built for that. He's more of a smaller pass-catching style back. And look, no one is ever going to be Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara is Kamara. But if you look at the way Kamara's stats are, Chase Edmonds can get to those type of numbers. I don't think he'll ever get close to at the volume that Kamara gets. But if you look at Kamara's numbers, he doesn't have a lot of rushing attempts. 120, 194 is a lot, 171, 184, 187. While these other workhorse running backs, even David Montgomery's getting 240, So if Chase can get not the majority, but kind of have an even split of rushing attempts, targets, and then go 700 yards on each side, he can be a very, very valuable fantasy asset. And we even see somebody like J.D. McKissick last year, where their pass catching specialist for that, he had a 4-week stretch where he was killing it, carrying teams. And if Chase Edmonds can have a role like that throughout the whole entire year, it can be very beneficial. And I've had my thoughts where there's certain guys where when you're doing your evaluations and stuff, you look and it's this guy could have a really breakout year. And I think Chase Edmonds is one of those guys. So good call, man.
I'm glad that you say that because, again, the fantasy community as a whole is not behind us, Jacob. We need to be the guys that start to fuel the fire for Chase Edmonds. We need to be those guys.
Hey,
we need
or
to
not,
get it
so
out
we
there.
can draft him.
No, I'd rather have it get it out
No,
there. I'm
course,
okay.
yeah.
What's the farthest he's going to go? Like 7th, 6th round. I'm fine taking him there too. I'm just saying, I'm not hearing this anywhere else. I'm all in on Chase Edmonds. I've reverted from my previous takes. I know that my mind is a constant spinning rotation of thought.
Well,
but I'm sticking to this one.
Do you regret getting rid of the Arizona backfield in your dynasty on your dynasty team so quickly? Like
No.
You did it like fairly after the James Conner signing.
Yeah, I had ulterior motives for that. If we're talking specifically about my dynasty team, I had a lot of running backs that were very questionable.
And you traded them all
in their search. So I decided to trade them all for more reliable running backs. And it took me a long time to do that, but I was able to find reliable pieces in guys like Chubb.
And I get it. Chubb. If Connor or Chase Edmonds were like that piece you needed to make that deal happen, then screw it. You might as well get the thing you want coming back to you.
Yeah. And one other thing before we move on to yours, Jacob, I want to touch on it very quickly. It's Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray was efficient with his legs last year until he got injured. That second half of the season when he came back, he didn't run as much. And because of that, you saw guys, especially Drake, get more carries. And you also saw Edmonds get more involved as well. So if they decide to kind of reserve Kyler Murray and take away some of those, game scripted runs or, keep him safer in the pocket, that bodes well for a guy like Chase Edmonds. It's going to work out more in his favor. He's going to be able to get those dump offs a little bit more, and he's going to see more work in between the tackles. So I'm all in it. I'm excited. Hype train is real. We have started it for Chase Edmonds in 2021. Jacob and I are the first round fantasy team doing it here first. That's where you heard it.